But as the number kept growing, we had to move ultimately to a large-size wall panel because it wouldn't fit in our normal small screen. Then, as we kept keeping track of this phenomenon, we had to expand it to a couple of wall panels. Eventually, there were so many of them, so many washouts and resignations and people leaving in disgust and disgrace and under mysterious circumstances that we had to expand the list to one entire wall of the big studio, and then it started wrapping around the corner. I don't even use a wall like that anymore. But now that that one-term short national nightmare is over, there is this other sort of tally sheet from that experience, a rap sheet, if you will, that not only do we still have to maintain now, it is still growing now. It is still the news now. And I just want to say from the outset, this is not normal. I mean, like, Warren Harding was a really bad president, right? Richard Nixon was bad. That's, people do really bad things. The Iran-Contra scandal is largely forgotten, even though it wasn't that long ago. That was really bad. People got in a lot of trouble for that, and a lot of them did. People got in trouble during presidencies. Even high-ranking people from various presidents have been in trouble in all of those eras, right, and others. But in what universe is it possible that an American president has his campaign chairman arrested, that's Paul Manafort, and his deputy campaign chairman arrested, that's Rick Gates, and his campaign manager arrested, Steve Bannon, and his national security advisor arrested, that's Mike Flynn, and his personal lawyer arrested, that's Michael Cohen, and his longtime political advisor arrested, that's Roger Stone, and his campaign foreign policy advisor arrested, that's George Papadopoulos, and his inaugural chairman arrested, that's Tom Barrack, just arrested today, his inaugural vice chairman arrested, Elliot Broidy, his private company indicted, the Trump Organization. The chief financial officer of his private company arrested, Alan Weisselberg. His foundation/charity shut down as a fraud. That's the Trump Foundation. His quote-unquote school shut down after a fraud suit settlement, Trump University. And not to mention, during his one single term as president, not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 of his cabinet secretaries were referred for federal criminal prosecution in one term. We just today got the Inspector General report on Trump Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross. And all the details of how that investigation concluded that Wilbur Ross lied to Congress on multiple occasions to cover up what the Trump administration was trying to do to mess with the census. And that report, again, which we just got in detail today, gives us all the details we didn't have before on this 5th Trump cabinet secretary who was referred to the U.S. Justice Department for potential criminal prosecution. In all 5 of those cases, all 5 Trump cabinet secretaries, it was the Trump Justice Department that refused to bring criminal charges despite those criminal referrals. But, like, you know, widen the lens a little bit. You know, meanwhile, the lawyers who brought the cases, brought the lawsuits that the former president wanted after the election to try to get the courts to somehow overthrow the election results and somehow keep him in office, those lawyers who were acting on his behalf are all facing court sanctions and potential disbarment in at least 4 different jurisdictions. His other personal lawyer, not the one who already went to prison, the other one has just had his law license suspended in both New York and in Washington, D.C. for his role in making those same false claims before the court. Oh, and he himself was impeached twice, that's a record, and he's personally facing a criminal investigation under Georgia state law for interfering with elections officials in that state. We're also awaiting a potential second round of indictments derived from these allegations of a years-long multi-million-dollar criminal tax fraud scheme that's already led to the indictment of his company that bears his name and its longtime CFO. I mean, not only is that not normal for an American presidency, like, in what country is that normal? Right? And in what universe is that the person who you pick to be the prohibitive frontrunner for the next Republican presidential nomination? Wow. Imagine, like, you know, they're trying to recruit people to the next Trump presidential campaign. Listen, if you play your cards right, you might become a cabinet secretary. And if the last time he was in office is any indication, that gives you only a 1 in 3 chance of being referred for federal criminal prosecution during his the 4 years of his term. you want to run the campaign or the inaugural, though, the odds are pretty good you're going to end up in the Crowbar Hotel. Just hope that it happens soon enough for him to pardon you. I mean, like, the record is... Anyway, today, the latest ceramic horse to fly by on the carousel of choose-your-own-adventure alleged felonies by all the people Donald Trump put into government and onto his campaign. The latest one to fly by is 74-year-old Tom Barrack, who used to be famous for